As your local mattress experts, we wrote the book called Sleep Better. We believe so much in helping you wake up happy. We wrote this book chock full of great sleep tips that you can use to wake up happy, and you don't even need to buy a new mattress. But I want to give you a free copy, and you can get that copy at gardnersmattressandmore.com/sleep-better.
Double deals, savings events happening now.
Listening to the Bulldog Hour, getting you inside the Wilson football program with weekly game previews, recaps, highlights, and interviews. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffauf.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Bulldog Hour. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mays. Here with me, as always, is my co-host, Justin Raffauf.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
It is great to be here, Justin, because not only are we celebrating a Week 1 win for our Bulldogs, I am celebrating, hopefully, the end of technical difficulties plaguing my computers here. It's been a weekend, well, really a week, because it started last week. We're on backup computer with Paul last week, and it was a little iffy, but I think things are back up and running. I know the players are waiting for my photos, but not only was the PC giving problems, now the Mac was giving problems, and editing on that Adobe Suite, I like to do it on the Mac, but a complete reboot, reformat, and we're up and running. Pictures will be available. As soon as this show ends, I will make a post so that the players can check out my photos. I was disappointed that I didn't get to see some of my fellow photographers. I didn't see Willie on Friday.
I was just going to ask you. I haven't seen him.
And I know there have been posts that Fred Maurer looked like he was maybe stopping doing photography.
Yeah.
He was telling people to buy from his link. And those two guys are fantastic photographers. Yeah. So it was a bummer for me personally just to not see them, because I love seeing those guys at the game, get to talk to them and see all of their amazing gear. And I didn't get to see either on Friday, so hopefully in the future, if Willie's around, I can talk to him. I don't know if Fred will be hitting the games or not. It doesn't seem like it was going to be happening, but it is really cool, Justin, over the last couple years to see all the students being involved in photography now. Obviously, I know Wilson Media Productions has been doing the video of the broadcast now for, I think, over a decade, maybe pushing 15 years almost. But it is really cool that the Photography Club and Media Productions have student photographers. And I know it was Bell Scholastico was on the sideline working both the media productions and photography. And that is awesome to see all those people doing that. The kids getting some hand-on experience. It can't be beat.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a great opportunity for them to get out there and kind of work on their craft, but also create, products that people want to see. And in the way, things are set up, there's countless ways to share that. And so it's awesome for all that stuff to get out there.
Absolutely. So before we dive into our Cheltenham recap and take a look at Plymouth-Whitemarsh, do want to take a moment to thank the sponsors of the program here at the Bulldog Hour. And as always, we'll start with my dad and sister at Mays Sandwich Shop for supporting us since the show began. Justin, we're 11th season, 10th anniversary, and Mays Sandwich Shop has been here since the beginning, and thank them for doing that. Up next, you heard the intro from Gardner's Mattress and More, and Jeff Janakovo and family joining us this year on the program. Make sure you hit them up in Lancaster, PA, I believe right next to Park City.
Right by Park City.
Yeah, right there. Yep. So nice, easy place to go. If you're going down that way, you might want to keep going then down to Penn Manor. There's a nice little place called the Sugar Bowl that Justin and I like to go to. I reached out to Godfrey.
Well, he posted the picture. It was in the background. Yes.
Yeah, so Godfrey's down at Conestoga Valley. Former assistant coach Godfrey left prior to last season. So this is our second year without Mr. Godfrey. However, his Conestoga Valley team that he is now helping out with was at Penn Manor at Millersville University, and I messaged him from the Wilson account and just said Sugar Bowl, and he responded. He said, "You don't know how much it made me smile seeing this account in my DMs." So if you're heading down to Gardner's Mattress and More, continue to one of our favorite stops at the Sugar Bowl at Millersville University.
That's right.
They need to become a sponsor of this program, Justin, and we can't ask for much more.
Yeah, at a minimum every other year, but now we're working them in and we're not even
Exactly.
going there.
We're not even going to be there this year. Also want to thank Steve Simons and SNS Mechanical. Check out ssfirstmechanical.com. Appreciate them joining us this year on the program. And we have not one, but two more sponsors. Justin, Eric Weiser was the first to hop on board this year besides Mays Sandwich Shop. Realtor Eric Weiser from Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, the Home Sale Realty. Check out ericweiserhomes.com. And we appreciate Eric sponsoring the program this year. And a returning sponsor joining Mays Sandwich Shop is the one and only Mike Drago, MikeDragosports.com. He has been with us ever since his site began. I believe I see on year 4 now, fourth season covering for his own site.
I don't know.
I think we're at 4.
I remember when you gave me the heads up, like you were
Yeah.
like, you got to check this out. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh.
So got in before it was public to find out that it was happening and see if I could help him out with the photos, which I have been doing now every year that he has had his own site. But I know he just posted about, what did he say? It's his 48th season covering high school football. Is that what it was?
I thought it was 47th and 50th overall
Okay.
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, same two teams. That his first ever game was in October, 40-some years ago, and it was Schuylkill Valley, Muhlenberg. So Mike will actually be joining us next week with Jeff Reinert from Lancaster Online, Lancaster Sports. So Mike and Jeff will join us to recap our Game 2 against Plymouth-Whitemarsh, which will probably be mostly you and I because I don't think either of them will be there. However, they're going to be here to help us preview Nazareth and just kind of talk about the first couple weeks of Lancaster Lebanon League football. So
I think Jeff was at the Solanco LS game.
and what a game that was.
Man, that
LS pulled it out 45-44 in overtime.
Yeah.
Yes, so thanks again to Mike Drago, MikeDragosports.com for sponsoring the Bulldog Hour here in 2025. So we've got a lot of people hopping on board and really thank them for that. It doesn't go unnoticed. It's appreciated. And when computer errors pop up, it's very appreciated. So that definitely helps alleviate some concerns here to make sure the program continues uninterrupted. And we will do so again next Sunday. August 31st, a week from right now. We will be earlier in the afternoon. Other stuff going on. It's Labor Day weekend. If you can't catch us live, I'm sorry. We will start at 3 p.m. and talk for probably about an hour or so with Mike and Jeff. So we will recap Plymouth-Whitemarsh and preview Nazareth area next Sunday, the 31st at 3 p.m. And I didn't mention them. I want to, even though they're not by name. They're anonymous, and that's the way they want it. But we appreciate both of those donors for hopping on board once again. They've been with us, I think, pretty close to day one, and we really, really appreciate it. All right, Justin, let's jump into Wilson's first game of the season in the books. Hosted the Cheltenham Panthers on August 22nd at Gursky. And honestly, Justin, this game felt a lot like the first two games against Cheltenham.
Yeah.
The emergency replacement game in 2023 that eventually was finished on Monday, September 11th. Then last year, the game was moved to Saturday and had to be played at Upper Merion, I believe, against the Panthers. And then just 2 nights ago, hosting the Panthers. And each game felt like, well, Wilson is probably the better team. They showed it for, at least 51% of the time because they won all 3 games.
I was going to say 85% of the individual plays.
Right, but there were just some things that Wilson wasn't able to put them away again.
Right.
There was no...
Minus the weather factors the first year, this felt like the same thing again, 3 years in a row, like you said. There was plenty to be pleased with. You know, there were a lot of good things that Wilson was able to do. There's plenty to work on, as we talked about with some of the coaches after the game and on the way out. There's plenty to work on, but learning from wins is always more desirable than learning from losses.
Yes, 100%.
So you did enough to get the win, and like I said, there were lots of of good things that happened in the game too. It just seems like, and this is kind of the key, it's not even, in my mind, it's not even like a 50-50 kind of thing. It's just when you make a mistake, Cheltenham is good enough that they are going to like capitalize. You know what I mean? Like some teams, and we talk about this a lot, and there are some games where it does not matter. Some of the little mistakes don't matter, and other games it matters a lot. And in the Cheltenham one, it definitely matters. Like they're good enough that when you make a mistake, more or less, they scored.
Right.
But like at the same time, if you limit your mistakes and do things like that, we're going to be all right. And we were all right enough of the time, which is the goal.
It once again never really felt like the game was in doubt.
No.
But it was very frustrating.
Yeah.
It was very frustrating. And
not as in doubt as last year's game, because last year's game was a one-score game, so you get to be like, oh boy,
yeah,
because so many of the things are from big plays, and so you're just like, oh, we're just one slip or one collision or one bad bounce or one away from this being a tie game. Well, when it's more than one score, you're like, okay, we're all right.
With I think it was about 3.5 minutes left. You texted me, you're like, this is going to end as a one-score game again, isn't it? And I didn't want that to be the case, but then they scored, I think, within 30 seconds of you texting me that to get it to what would be the final score of 35-24, Wilson victory, which is definitely what we want. But I do want to point out and say I was very thankful and appreciative of the onside kick recovery, because it was textbook by Chase Herb. Yeah. He did a fantastic job to get that ball, and that was the end.
It got down, and that was it.
That was the end of the threat. Basically, that put the nail in the coffin right there. Thankfully, that there wasn't any more sweating coming from the sideline, or I'm sure in the stands as well. And I know everyone is super, super pleased to get that win in week one. You want to get that one,
right?
I don't know, Justin. I don't know how you feel. I usually we have the same track of mind or thought, but I don't feel much different this year than I did last year after week one.
No.
So, and obviously that's not meant as a negative or a positive. That's just a statement of fact.
I might have, in the moment, I think I feel about the same. I think I might be slightly more optimistic because after that game last year, kind of feeling, but like I look at how that was able to pan out, and that does not guarantee anything for this year. But just seeing that, like, that close call is too strong of a word, but that battle at Upper Merion against Cheltenham last year, you were still able to see what that team molded into over the following weeks and months, and it was a great team. And I don't see anything on Saturday that would keep this team from being able, on Friday, that would keep this team from also being able to grow into a great team. Now,
absolutely,
there's plenty of work to do.
Yes, just like there was last year.
They have the pieces in place to also develop, but it takes the work and the grind of the season in order to get there. And this is not new revelations by us. This is exactly how, I think the coaches feel, and I'm sure it's the message they're conveying to the players of, hey, we got the win. That's the objective. Mm-hmm. Now we need to get better each week. And we know Doms has preached that jump from week 1 to week 2. Constantly, literally every season we talk to him, he talks about that. And so, all right, well, we've got week 2, and let's see what we can do.
I honestly think we saw it last year because we were sitting here on Sunday, the day after the game, saying, they won. That's great. Right. You want to win. You got to learn from your mistakes. We got to get better in week 2. And what they do, they came out and looked, I don't want to say dominant, like they blew out Plymouth-Whitemarsh, but they were firmly in control and playing a different brand of football than what they had the week before.
Right.
So it felt like you were a complete team that you could do it in any way you needed to get it done.
Yep.
They rose to a challenge. They met the challenge. And I felt like even though they lost the next week, again, that close loss to Nazareth, I still also think it reinforced we can hang with these really, really strong teams.
Yep.
And these really elite players.
Right.
So that's what we need to see again this season. Now you got to do it on the road in week 2 at a place we've never been before.
Right.
Same coaching staff from a year ago, by and large. Head coach is the same. But let's not.
Yeah, we'll get
to Plymouth.
But yes,
shortly.
I think I would agree. I feel very similar to where we were at last year. If anything, I have a little more optimism because I know there's that path to what this team or what a team in a similar position can achieve throughout the season. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right. So, you know, and a lot of that depends on so many different things. But it'll be interesting to kind of see how it goes because that, like you said, last year that team made a big jump from week 1 to week 2. I'm looking forward to see us make a big jump from week 1 to week 2 here as well.
Yeah, that is always the hope, and I know the coaches know what have to be worked on.
Oh yeah,
both on both sides of the ball. I'm sure in special teams too. Although shout out to freshman kicker Preston Oxenreiter, perfect on extra points.
I'm happy for Preston.
A very nice debut from him. The game, honestly, Justin started off like we were like, oh boy, this is not the way we wanted to start because I think was it the first 3 plays or 3 of the first 4 plays were all for no gain or negative yardage.
We had false start, and then it was false start, and then I don't know if we got called for a penalty or if we lost yards, but I joked with you that the drive started no, and then yes.
Yeah, exactly. Which would be a theme,
right? Yes, and so once they got rolling though, they were able to march right down the field. First few plays they went backwards, and then they were able to go in the right direction and really got things moving, and that was pretty cool. And then. Yeah, like you said, that was kind of a theme though for the night. There were some things. No, yes. But like you saw enough guys. One of the nice things, and I know like people were talking about this. We saw a really good mix. I thought of guys that made plays, names that you most likely know, from last year.
Mm-hmm.
But also some of the other guys were stepping in there and making plays as well. And again, they were guys who were there last year, but you just would have been easier to maybe not recognize last year if you weren't diving in to the games or the stats or things like that. Might have been a little harder to see, but seeing guys step up, seeing guys return and maybe up what they were doing from before, hey, that's going to need more of that over the next couple months.
Yeah, so Wilson received the opening kickoff. They did not win the toss. Cheltenham won the toss and deferred. Wilson obviously decided to take the ball. Started with a false start and then a sack. Mason got sacked on the next play. So all of a sudden you're facing 2nd and 25 after a penalty and a sack. And you're like, oh,
I knew it wasn't even like yardage, and that's why I couldn't remember if it was sack or like a penalty or something.
Yeah, and unfortunately Mason had very little time to even get set on that first drop back on 1st and 15 on their side of the field. But then Carell was able to pick up nice yardage on 2nd and 25 to get it to 3rd and 12, which is obviously less than ideal, but you're around midfield. So you're not backed up like they were a little bit later. And then it was really nice play call that Mike Glover with the
was that the one
nice reception
where Mason had rolled out to the other side and kind of bought time and then got it,
which we heard. Obviously we've seen it, and then all the coaches that we interviewed talked about his ability to extend plays with his feet, and we saw that early on. 3rd and 12 at their own 48. They need to make a play. He's under pressure. Had already been sacked once. He gets away from the rushers, and he finds Mike Glover downfield for 21 yards and a first down. After you're facing 2nd and 25 to pick up that first down was impressive. Then we saw Mike Glover rush for the first time. Didn't know they had that in them in their playbook. So that was exciting to see Glover rumble for another first down at 11 yards. And then on the next play, red zone possession, Mason Young finds Carell Akings on a swing pass down the right sideline, 20-yard touchdown. And like I said, Preston Oxenreiter gets his first PAT attempt through the uprights, and Wilson leads it 7-0. Things went well defensively for the Bulldogs on the next series. They forced them to go 3 and out. So it was the Wilson ball once again. And this one was pretty methodical. They mixed the pass and rush well, I thought, during the game. And eventually, Mason Young would find Jaden Carpenter down the left sideline for 24 yards. Another touchdown. Extra point is good. And all of a sudden, Wilson's up 14-0. You're like, okay, this is, those first couple of plays of the game,
2 drives,
a little
2
iffy,
touchdowns.
but 2 drives, 2 touchdowns. Can't ask for much more than that. And that is how the first quarter would end. The Panthers would drive a little bit, but would stall inside of Wilson territory on their possession near the end of the first quarter. However, they got a very nice punt off. Their punter was pretty impressive with where he was able to get the ball. He was not deep. He was very close to the line, which obviously, if you got a very strong pass rush unit that can get through, you might be able to block it. But he was close to the line, but was very quick. It was very quick off his foot. And this one was down literally at, I think, the 1-inch line.
Yeah.
I was standing there watching the Panthers let it roll closer and closer to a goal line. I'm like, the tip of that ball touches the goal line. That's a touchback.
Right.
And obviously I want that to happen.
Right.
And I saw, but I was as a former player and a coach, I'm just like, oh my gosh, pick up the ball.
Really. All right, once it gets to the 1, just pick it up.
It's fine. You don't have to get it to the 1-inch line.
Because the center's going to move the ball.
Right. So, but it got to the 1-inch line. And that's where Wilson would take over just towards the end of the first quarter. So literally at, it's going to go down as being at the Wilson 1, but it was at the Wilson 1-inch line, which was wild. So we get into the second quarter now, and Wilson possession ends on an interception on 3rd and 14. Thankfully, just a few plays later, Cheltenham would throw their own interception to Corell Akings. So Akings would take that ball away from Cheltenham. I believe it was on the second play. There was a holding penalty that pushed them back to 1st and 20. And then was the pass deflected that Corell picked off?
So here's the thing. I didn't see it.
Okay.
So the way the mount is for the home games that's holding the iPad for recording, it blocks the entire middle of the screen. So I can see the edges, but I can't see in the middle. I thought Corell came up and leveled the guy just from the type of play it was. I could see what's coming. I thought Corell came up and knocked it loose. I think someone said that it was tipped. I don't know if it was tipped by one of our guys or maybe another offensive guy. I don't know, and that Corell was able to get it. But that was a huge play, and that's one of the things. I know some people were like, oh, they gave up some big plays, and they did, and that's absolutely something we need to correct. No one's going to hide from that or not acknowledge that. However, you also need to recognize that the defense also made some huge plays like that one. Early in the game could be a big momentum shift, and guys step up and make a play and get the ball right back. Okay, well, you pick up the quarterback in his first start. That's great, and those are the kind of things that you want to see from the team later. Well, and I know you haven't gotten there yet, but later again, the defense steps up. They were given. I know they've talked about this before in other games. The guys talked about, give us an inch, give us an inch. And it might have been last year when they stopped somebody really close to the goal line again. And so look, the defense did make some big plays too.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
That is another bright side. It's not like there's things to clean up, but they stepped up at times as well.
After the turnover by Cheltenham, the Akings interception, Amani Greer rushed for 5 yards. Mason Young hit Mike Glover for 24 yards. Then Mason hit Elijah Dean for 5 yards and Monty Greer for another 22. And all of a sudden, you're all the way down to the Cheltenham 25 just a few plays after the interception. There was a false start once again, but Mason Young found Carpenter for 7 yards and then hit Akings for 20. And then Akings would finish off the next play with another touchdown, this one on the ground. And now Wilson's up 21-0. And despite, sack and interception, like you said, defense made a play, and now 3 out of 4 drives ended in points, and you're still shutting out the opponent. So We're like, okay, maybe we got this out of our system with with Cheltenham sticking around.
Right.
You're up 3 scores, not even halfway through the second quarter, and then the next play from scrimmage after the kickoff, Kendall Jackson completes to Carson Gideon's 67 yards on a touchdown, and a little bit of blown coverage on that, and they answer right back. Now the extra point failed, so it was 21-6 favor of the Bulldogs. And
for as good as the punting was,
the place kicking wasn't as good.
Although, did they only try the one?
They might have only tried one because I think after they went for 2,
right? Then they're
trying to
chasing
catch
those the
up.
whole time.
So,
which was okay, and that was actually a role in maybe how some of the end of the game went.
So Wilson got the ball back, and at this point, you and I are thinking we need to answer here. We can't give up a big play like that and get 3 and out.
Right.
And Wilson answered immediately. They moved from their own 42 down to the goal line in just I don't even think it was 10 full plays. So there was they moved the ball around a lot, which was very nice because you saw Akings and Greer both on the ground and through the air. You saw Young use his feet on occasion, but most of the time through the air, hitting Glover often, including on this drive. It was a nice throw from Young to Glover for 22 yards. And then another one to Glover for 26, which he came down just short of the goal line to set up the next rushing touchdown, which was by sophomore Damian Greer. His first varsity touchdown came on that play. And I know we had someone asking me, I think it was our buddy Mike Rosano, about Damian's touchdown, and did I get a picture of that? Well, come on, Mike, you know me. You know I got a picture of that. And I told Damian that I got a picture of his touchdown. So
if somebody would have posted the pictures, we all could have known that.
You're right. My bad. But yes, the pictures are coming, gentlemen. They'll be up in the next hour. Once I finish up here on the show, I will get those posted. So yes, Damian got a touchdown. Extra point was good. Wilson goes up 28-6.
Right. So immediately the answer that you wanted, and you're like, all right, here we go.
And then Cheltenham gets the ball back. We're getting closer and closer to halftime. Not a lot of time left. And there's 2 consecutive incompletions, and Cheltenham's facing 3rd and 10. So, all right, you're up 28-6. You one more stop, and you're getting the ball back before halftime. Run out the clock, maybe even get another score. Unfortunately, there was a little friendly fire on the next play. 2 Wilson defenders ran into each other and kind of clipped each other. Another Cheltenham receiver is wide open as a result. So Kendall Jackson finds Chaz Moore for 71 yards this time. Touchdown, Panthers, 28-12 after a 2-point pass attempt failed. Wilson gets the ball back, doesn't really do anything with it. Actually has to give the ball back to Cheltenham, but we do get to the end of the half, even with Cheltenham threatening. They didn't have enough timeouts to try to kick a field goal, which I'm not sure they would have been able to do, or to try to get in the end zone. They just ran out of time because they had burned timeouts throughout the first half. So halftime, it's Wilson 28, Cheltenham 12. Third quarter starts, and it's Cheltenham with some momentum. They take the ball, and they're kind of running it with ease up the gut. Some read options that the quarterback's able to make things work with his running back, Jaden Walker. 17 yards on the first play. A couple nice pass completions from Jackson to Gideons again. A few more nice rushes, and all of a sudden they are down at the 1. They are 1st and goal from the 1. A false start penalty pushes them back, and Wilson didn't give up a lot after that. Jackson got 3 yards back on the next play. Then Cheltenham is stuffed for a loss. Malachi Tolles. Then they looked to have scored a touchdown on 3rd down. However, Jackson released the ball well past the line of scrimmage. I think it was a full yard, maybe closer to 2. I think he had to throw it before the 5, and I think he was almost at the 3 by the time he released the ball. And you and I did say this. I wanted to mention it. I thought for being the first game and it being a little, I don't want to say chippy. There wasn't really anything like,
but a physical game.
But a physical game. I thought the refs did a very good job.
Yeah.
I thought they were on top of things. I thought they came together when they needed to.
And this was a perfect example. The ref in the backfield threw the flag, but the guy who's also, especially at that point, is also in charge of the goal line.
Right.
So he had kind of gone down to the goal line.
And I was right there. And
Right.
I heard him say he didn't see it.
Right.
Because he was not looking at that point. He was
Right.
checking everyone closer to the goal line.
Right. And when you get into the mechanics of stuff, I'm going to defer to him because
Right.
I do not know
However,
what that's supposed
the
to be.
head ref saw it
Right.
because he was the backup doing what he was
Right.
supposed
and
to
they,
do.
And they got together and they talked about it, and boom, there you go. And that is what it looked like to me. I don't have a great angle from where I'm at down there. It looked like it, but that's hard for me to tell. But yeah, I mean, it kind of seemed like that was what it was, and they got together and got it right.
So that backed Cheltenham up facing 4th and 10. And then Jaden Carpenter knocked down and interrupted the Kendall Jackson pass
great
intended for
coverage.
Zeke Upchurch, and Jaden Carpenter won that battle and pushes the Cheltenham Panthers back without getting any points. And
Right.
they had first
Right.
and goal
Again,
from the 1.
First and goal from the 1. And that was one where it was close. He was getting close to getting in. We got him down, but he was inside the 1 again and again. So that's a perfect example. Yes, there were some plays that we need to work on, things that we need to work on defense, but that was a big stop to be able to stop them there. They just marched right down the field, and then you turn them away, no points. They could have cut it to a 1-score game, and you turn them away. That was huge.
The teams traded punts here on the next 3 possessions, 2 of which were Wilson offense going 3 and out, and Chase Herb had to punt. I thought he looked really good punting. We saw some nice punting from Christo, kicking, punting last year, and Chase Herb filled in this year and did really well with that. Cheltenham got the ball to start the 4th quarter. Again, it's still Wilson 28-12, and Cheltenham's hanging around. Wilson does eventually force them to punt here, and then the Bulldogs offense got into gear again and started moving things. Mason Young rushed for 14 yards on 2 carries. Monty Greer picked up 10, and then he picked up a 5 and 11. So right there, 26 yards from Greer on the ground there before Aiken came back in. And then Ethan Harding took over the ball-carrying duties and rumbled for 10 yards. And then following an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on Cheltenham, Harding finished it off with an 11-yard rushing touchdown. Preston gets the kick through, and now Wilson's up 35-12. And you're feeling pretty good.
Yes.
After 9 plays, 73 yards, 4 minutes of clock run off. But man, Cheltenham just wouldn't go away.
We talked about this too. Yes, Wilson is a team that when I'm watching that, and obviously we're biased, but I watch that game. Wilson should win that a lot, right? That's not. I don't think you're going to get a lot of. I don't think you're going to get a lot of pushback there. But this Cheltenham team, they do not give up, and that's not unique to this year. We've seen it 3 years in a row.
Right?
They
they
not
battle.
quit. They battle until the end, and I know it's not the outcome they wanted. They're not coming up to
lose a football game.
lose a football game, but it's a team where I'm I'm confident in Wilson, but they're going to play every team hard this year because you can see it. That was a game they could have multiple times. They could have kind of, okay, kind of packed it in, and we've got a long bus ride back. And that is not what you get from them.
No.
Ever.
No, there is no
Ever.
packing it in whatsoever.
No, they do not quit.
And I know it's a new coaching staff or
I-
a new
I
head
hope-
coach this year.
And I wish them a lot of success
Oh
the rest of the
go
way.
9-1. That's
Yeah.
what we want. I want to see Cheltenham go 9-1. That would be fantastic. It's a testament to their program and the players and the discipline and attitude that they've instilled on that group because they don't ever give up. It doesn't matter what the scores. 2 years ago, Wilson was up 28-0,
Yeah.
and they had to come back
Right.
from Saturday night to Monday afternoon or whatever
Right.
it was, Monday evening.
And then it rained again.
Right, and there was
again.
another delay, and it was just absurd. And you're down 28-0, or they might have gotten it to 28-7. I forget where all the
Right.
rain stoppages happened, but they just battled back. You
Right.
felt like they were out of it, and they just came back. So they did that once again. After Wilson went up 35-12, Cheltenham comes right back, going with Kendall Jackson. Kendall Jackson was making that team go. He hit Zeke Upchurch for 52 yards on 4th and 3. 4th and 3, 52-yard pass. And then 2 plays later, Jackson hits Gideons again for another touchdown. 35-18. The pass does fail, however, but Cheltenham gets the ball back after Wilson offense, some penalties, and inability to get anything going, especially on the ground, trying to run out some time. Chase Herb eventually attempts to pick up a lot of yardage. Wilson was facing 4th and 29 from their own 31. Herb got 14, obviously wasn't enough, and now Cheltenham starts just across midfield in Wilson territory, and one play later, Jackson hits Upchurch again for 45 yards and a touchdown, 35-24. Now, there wasn't a lot of time left on the clock at this point, but, I think it was about 90 seconds or so. Yeah. But, hey, they get the onside kick, another quick score, which they've shown they can do. Mm-hmm. I think they had 3 one-play possession touchdowns, I think. Now, there might have been one that had a penalty mixed in, so it might have technically been two or 3 plays, but very quick touchdowns. Multiple over 45 yards. I think at least 3 and more. There was another pass over I just mentioned, I think 56. It didn't go in for a score, but many, many big plays in the passing game. Thankfully, I mentioned it already. I spoiled it. Chase Herb recovered an onside kick. It was a pretty decent onside kick, too. Yeah.
And the first onside kick got too close to the sideline. That's basically
right.
Like they recovered it, not in time. And it wasn't that close, but like they were the closest to recovering it, I should say.
Yeah.
But it was out of bounds.
Yep.
And not that close. But the second one, Chase Herb, right on it. That was exactly what you would want him to do.
Yeah, so Wilson's able to now run out the clock, victory formation, taking some knees.
Yep.
And the players can breathe a sigh of relief that everything they've worked for all offseason and throughout the summer, they were able to get that W, 1-0.
Get that first one.
That 1-0 mantra, and there it is. So a very good debut from senior quarterback Mason Young. He was 17 of 22, very efficient. I know they like to get that quick hitting game early and often. They've got the speed. We know how much speed can kill. And man,
look at the distribution in terms of the receiving is absurd.
Yeah, they got the ball. Wilson got the ball to 6 different receivers. Mason Young hit Mike Glover, Eli Dean, Monty Greer, Carell Akings, Jaden Carpenter, and Damian Greer. So 17 completions, 190 yards, 3 touchdowns for Mason Young. His favorite target was junior tight end Mike Glover. He had 5 catches for 77 yards.
That's fair.
Didn't get in the end zone. The receiving touchdowns went to Akings, Carpenter, and Greer.
But he did have some huge first downs.
He did, absolutely. Yeah, we talked about them already. Rushing on the ground, the lead actually went to Monty Greer. This week, he had 9 carries for 61 yards. Carell Akings had 17 carries for 45 yards, did get a touchdown on the ground, and the other rushing touchdown was scored by Ethan Harding. So 3 through the air, 2 through the ground. Nice distribution. We talked about the run pass felt pretty even.
Yeah.
It appeared that way. Thought they were incorporating everything in there nicely. Defensively, another familiar name because we already mentioned about him on offense. That was Mike Glover. Second most tackles for the night. None bigger than the sacks that he had, especially the one down when they had gotten to first and goal from the 1. That series, Mike Glover had a sack. Akings and Brownback actually tied for the team lead in tackles, 4.5. Akings had a tackle for loss and an interception. Brownback chipped in half a tackle for loss as well. Malachi Tolles had the sack also on that goal-to-go series for Cheltenham. But all around, pretty good showing. Cole Peterson, Braden Farrell, outside linebackers, chipped in 3.5 and 3 tackles respectively. And, the big plays is what really hurt the defense. Otherwise, I thought they played pretty well.
It was really 3. There were 3, maybe if you want to count it, 4 plays.
4 plays, 3 of them for touchdowns.
Yeah. And again, that's your area of concern and the area that you need to improve on. At the same time, like I said, the defense rose to the occasion a couple of times too, and you like to see that because it's easy to get down, especially when you've given up the play and they get to the 1. It's easy to be like, oh well, they're going to score here. Well, no, they come up and make the plays to show the mental toughness to make the plays and stick with it and be like, all right, well they got down here, but I'm gonna win this next play, and I'm gonna win this next play, and that's. That's what you want to see. And so I was, we've kind of said it a bunch here, but I was pleased with some of the things, and obviously there's areas to work on, but I think the future is bright.
They gave up only 29 yards on the ground, 19 carries, surrendered 329 passing yards, obviously an area of concern.
More than half of that, though.
Well, I was just going to say there were 4 plays of 45-plus yards. It was like, 45, 56, that's 101. One was for 71, right? That's 172. And then there was one for 60-something, right? That's 230 passing yards on 4 plays.
Right.
They threw for 329.
Right.
So so Cheltenham completed 12 passes, so they had 4 passes for 230 or so yards, and then 8 passes for 90.
Right.
So cut down on the big plays.
Right.
Make them work for it. So obviously that's a point of emphasis, and the coaches talked about it. The kids talked about it after the game, and that's one thing I want to point out, because sometimes everyone's happy about a win.
Absolutely.
But I don't want to see people celebrating like you just won the Super Bowl, winning in week 1. And no one did. I'm not saying they did. But it was nice to hear the players be like, yeah, hey, 1-0, got the win, but we're not satisfied. That wasn't good enough. And multiple players said that to us or around us while we were there to record interviews.
Right. And that's the kind of attitude you're going to need, because if you think, and this doesn't, even if they won that game 35-0, if you think what you did in week 1 is good enough to win games in November, you're probably setting yourself up for disappointment. That's just the way football is.
Yeah.
So knowing that you're going to need to, where you want to be Halloween weekend, hopefully not playing.
Not playing. I don't want to be playing Halloween weekend.
I know. But that's the idea, is if we're not, where you want to be come November, you want a path there when you're in late August and early September, but know that there's a lot of work in between. And I saw promising things and a path to get there from where we are right now.
100%. All right, so we did get to talk to some players and Coach Doms, so I think it's about time we play those interviews for you. So let's listen to, who was it? Mason Young, Mike Glover, and Corell Akings joined us after Wilson's Game 1 victory over Cheltenham.
Wilson beats Cheltenham. Guys, how's it feel to get that first victory in the books?
It was good. Great start off to the season. I think we can just keep building off of this win and then just expect to have a challenge every week.
I think we played a great team. Cheltenham is very good offensively, very talented. They had a tough defense.
We've got the W. Now we're on to week 2, trying to keep getting more.
So, Mike, some carries, some rushing attempts. How long have you guys been working on that?
I don't know. That's Coach Palm. That's just good calls. That's not really something we really hone in on, but I just like that he trusts me with my versatility and athleticism just to use me like that. And I love just the way that I'm put in the offense like that, to be able to carry, to be able to run routes, block. So it's just awesome that I'm able to do that.
Yeah, you had 33 rushing yards, 77 receiving yards, 4 tackles, 2 for loss, 2 sacks. All around pretty standout game for you to start your junior year. But we got a couple standout seniors here with us as well. Mason, first start at quarterback, how'd you feel?
Felt good. Felt good to be out there with Corell again and all those guys. And I'm just happy we got the win. 17
of 22, 190 yards, 3 touchdowns. What were you thinking about that first one you got out to Corell?
I mean, I think he just made a really good play. We just had him on a flare. We noticed that they didn't really play the flats much. So, I mean, I got a ball to a playmaker, and we did what he does best.
Corell, how about you? You're no stranger to talking to us after big games. You had a receiving touchdown, a rushing touchdown, made some big defensive plays. What are you thinking after week 1?
Definitely a great start. Just me personally, I think I need to build on my defense a little more. Just be there for my teammates and be a leader as much as possible to them. Even though I've been here for a really long time starting, I'm just like a role model to most of the players and show them how to attack the games.
All right, well, congratulations on your first win. I know no one's happy to be done for the night, but you get to come back next Friday down at Plymouth-Whitemarsh, and hopefully we get to talk to you all again real soon. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, so that was our quick interview with a few players following the win against the Panthers. Justin and I also caught up with head coach Doug Doms, 50th season at Wilson for Wilson football. So let's hear what he had to say after his team's opening night win.
All right, we're here now with Wilson head coach Doug Doms, starting off his 50th season on staff, 20th as head coach, with a win over Cheltenham. Coach, how did you feel the Bulldogs did against the Panthers tonight?
We did some good things, but, we had some major breakdowns in pass coverage, which, kept the game a lot closer. I mean, I think they had 2 pass completions in the first half, and they were both 60, 70 yards. We ran the ball fairly well, overall, but I don't think we had that killer instinct to finish people, and that part upsets me a little bit. But it's the first game. We had some young guys in there that we're just getting experience right now. So we'll take a look at the film. We'll correct the mistakes. Hopefully, we'll learn our lessons and play a little harder, practice a little harder, and take it from there.
You mentioned the debuts of some first-time starters, including your quarterback Mason Young. How did you think his first game went?
He did a pretty nice job keeping some plays alive and finding open receivers, but he also made some mistakes. The pick was, a major one. A couple other times he should have thrown the ball, on the reads a little quicker. But, again, learning curve. We'll have to process that quarterback.
How long have you been considering putting the ball in Mike Glover's hands on the ground instead of just through the air?
We want to get him, 10 to 15 touches a game. So if it's on a running play, a pass play, you name it.
Yeah, so he had 2 rushes, had 5 receptions, but he also made a name for himself on defense, playing there a little bit more. You seem to have a nice rotation on the defensive line. What did you think defensively about the performance this evening?
I thought we had pretty good push up front. We were getting a lot of pressure. Like I said, that quarterback was super elusive. And trying to contain him was part of the problem. Then he threw some darts, on some of those receptions. But, we need to do a little bit better job in coverage and a little bit better job in contain.
Yeah, and he's only a junior, so he'll be back for them next year. Pretty impressive performance from him to keep plays alive and keep things moving. So now Wilson moves on. We'll be on the road next week at Plymouth-Whitemarsh. I think they were hit pretty hard by graduation. Do you still expect them to be a powerful run-first team with Coach Chang still there?
You would suspect that. It's hard to say because, like you said, they did lose an awful lot to graduation. But we'll take a look at their scrimmage. We'll take a look at their first game and adjust accordingly.
All right. Well, Coach, congratulations on first win of this season. And we hope to get to talk to you a few more times after at least the second win this year. And you got the first one, so now we're working on number 2. That's all you could really promise, right?
That's all I want, one at a time.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
All right, so thanks to Coach Doug Doms for speaking with us for a few minutes after the victory. And now the team is fully focused on Plymouth-Whitemarsh. Again, only the second ever meeting between the squads. And we'll dive into the PW Colonials here shortly. We just want to put one bow on the Cheltenham game, and that is to announce our player of the game. And Justin, I feel like there are 3 guys that stood out in my mind that we discussed their statistical standouts for the game. And I feel like unless you're Maddox Gruber against Mifflin last year, I feel like there's always at least 2 or 3 guys you could give the player of the game award to. Every so often, every few seasons, you have someone who has a ridiculous game that it's a no doubt or no brainer. This one I didn't think was like that. I thought there was a few guys that could take the title for week 1. But I think because of the presence across the stat sheet and knowing the defense is probably keying on him, trying to take him away, that this is the player that we decided to go with this week. We certainly could have picked quarterback Mason Young for his debut. Highly efficient, 17 of 22, 3 touchdowns, nearly 200 yards passing. Corell Akings, all over the place, had an interception, was in the end zone twice, 17 carries, But in the end, we did decide to go with junior tight end, defensive end Michael Glover. 5 receptions for 77 yards, 2 rushes for 33 yards, and 4 tackles, 2 of them being sacks. He was the team's leading receiver. He surprised everyone with the ground game contributions, and then in a couple big moments, he stepped up and made plays defensively. He was all over the field. I know the latter part of the second half, too, some dinged up, still able to get back out there and make some plays. So really strong performance from a handful of individuals. And Mason, Carell, and Mike were right there in the thick of it. But went with Glover this time.
I have a feeling we'll hear from all those guys some more.
Already hearing from a few of those across the accounts tonight. But yeah, now that they weren't picked, now hey, I want to hear your name next week. That's right. I want to hear your name next week. And if someone else was hosting the show, it may have gone a different direction. But Justin and I, we're gonna go with Mike this time, and look forward to talking about the rest of the Bulldogs as the season progresses, which will take us to week 2, which will be on Friday, August 29th, down at Plymouth-Whitemarsh. First time Wilson is heading down to play PW at the PWHS football stadium, taking on the Colonials, 6A school in Suburban 1. They were 9-3 last year, one of those 3 losses being to Wilson and Manheim Township.
Right.
Who Manheim Township got a win over Cumberland Valley, 7-0 in week 1.
Manheim Township game was a field goal like at the end or something.
Township pulled that one out at the very end. Right. So the Colonials team we played last year and beat 21-7, very strong. That one, of course, was at home. This one is on the road this year. But they graduated a lot. You heard us talk to Coach Doms about that. Coaching staff remains the same, though, and they are a run-first, tough team. And I know, Justin, you told me PW in week 1.
I think
They
lost to Westchester Henderson, but I think it was like 40 to 35 or something like that. Like
it was a high.
They were able to put
game.
up some points.
Yeah.
And so when you look at it, you know, I think by some accounts it might have been 18 guys that they lost, but they were able to really kind of get on track and score some points. So that was not an issue breaking in a new squad of guys.
75 points combined between the teams, over 700 yards of offense, 38 first downs. So a little bit of a lack of defensive effort across that game as Henderson beats Plymouth-Whitemarsh 40-35. Henderson got a 56-yard touchdown pass with 4:28 left in the fourth quarter that ended up being the game-winning score. So big plays abound there as well. Lots of offensive fireworks. Henderson actually was up 14-0 before Whitemarsh battled back. This game was at Henderson as well, and they were up 34-21 at the end of the third quarter. So whenever I see a high-scoring game from a team that's generally considered a rushing team, I'm not really sure what to think about that.
Oh, boy.
Because generally teams that run first, run second type of offense, it takes longer to get down the field, to get into the end zone. So it'll be interesting to see if, because of the graduation losses, if the offense is a little different this year.
Right, it might be different. But they were really physical up front on both sides of the ball last year.
The PW did attempt 15 passes and threw for 162 yards.
Yeah.
So, that's not a, sometimes we see stat lines where, Cocalico, why missing, they might not even throw 20, 30 passes all year.
Just real quick, how about that score?
The why missing game?
No, Elizabethtown.
Oh, Elizabethtown beating Cocalico. Yeah. Head coach Tom Gallagher
was up 14-0 in the fourth quarter. Making
a name for himself there in his first year as E-Town head coach. And taking down Cocalico has been one of the more steady players in the LL League in those sections.
But you kind of expect a lot of those kind of numbers. But they were able to get the passing game going, it looks like.
Yeah, and Henderson's quarterback actually was the same thing, 10 of 15, somehow for only 22 yards, but 4 touchdowns. I don't know if that's right, Justin. That would be hard to do. 10 of 15 for 22 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, big scoring game, high scoring game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of see it in person. So, also, like you said, we've never played there. So,
yeah, well, we mentioned it last year. Scott Hunsaker's alma mater.
Oh, yeah.
He got a bit of a break right now with Christo moving on to college with Tommy, both at Millersville. But Graham is, I believe, a freshman and ready to join the team next year. Don't know if Plymouth-Whitemarsh will be back on the schedule or not as things get shifted around. But heading down to PW for game number 2 of the 2025 season this coming Friday night. We've been getting hit pretty good with the comments. We appreciate everyone watching, Jeff and Mike. And here's a name for you, Justin.
I saw it.
Jim Contafio. So Coach Contafio, thank you for tuning in. And he says, great job with Bulldog Hour. We appreciate that. And obviously, yes, this is the brainchild of Coach Contafio.
I remember it used to run on like the Burks.
It was
cable
it was
channel.
on BCTV and WTV, Wilson TV.
And I believe you gave me a shirt a couple of years ago.
I did,
from from the original one.
Yeah, and Coach Contafio started the show with the late John Dallas, who just did phenomenal work while we were at school. In the late '90s, early 2000s, and longer.
Right. And I remember Coach Brubaker being on there too, right?
Yes, he was Coach Contafio's co-host. Yeah. Coach Chad Brubaker, who I just saw at practice a couple weeks ago. So yeah, thank you, Coach, for tuning in. Thank you for getting things started. And we picked up the torch 11 years ago, or 11 seasons ago now, and are hopefully getting bigger and better every year. That's the goal, right? That's the goal. So, Justin, anything else to add about Cheltenham or Plymouth-Whitemarsh?
Nope. We already mentioned it. You won. There's plenty to work on. I'm sure they're already on their way to cleaning those things up and improving. Be ready to go. You've got that bus ride down to PW on Friday on a non-school day. That always worries me. Now, this was a non-school Friday, too.
True.
So anymore, your first
not even
games.
in school yet.
Right. But kind of just a little different after a week of being in school and then going to practice. We know from our time, even in middle school, that sometimes these practices, the kids could be a little slower, just being in school all day. Get the work done this week and be ready to go on Friday.
Thank you once again to our sponsors, Mays Sandwich Shop, Gardner's Mattress and More, S&S Mechanical, Realtor Eric Weiser of Berkshire Hathaway Home Sale Realty, Mike Drago Sports, and our 2 anonymous donors. One last time before Justin and I get out of here and end episode 7 of our 11th season, we do want to remind you that next Sunday, August 31st, we will be back live with Mike Drago from MikeDragoSports.com and Jeff Reinhardt from LancasterOnline.com and Lancaster Newspaper. That will be at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, however. We will be on from at least 3 to 4, maybe a little bit past that. Can't make the evening time slot work with them next week. A lot going on because it's Labor Day weekend. So we will be live to recap the game against Plymouth-Whitemarsh and preview Nazareth area. It'll just be at 3 p.m. on the 31st with Mike Drago and Jeff Reinhardt. But I think that's it for us here at the Bulldog Hour for this week. We appreciate you tuning in with Justin and I this evening. Congratulations to the team and coaches for their Week 1 win against Cheltenham. And now it's back to the drawing board, back to the playing field.
Time to get to work.
I know they've already watched film. They're probably ready to go to take on the Colonials this coming Friday, August 29th, again, down at Plymouth-Whitemarsh. All right, that's it for us. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in just under a week. Yeah. Remember, 3 p.m. I don't want to hear anyone, I missed it. 3 o'clock next Sunday. All right, for Justin Raffauf, the entire Wilson football program, I'm Joe Mays. Thanks for listening. And until next time, remember, go Bulldogs.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Bulldog Hour. Want more Wilson football? Follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. Or visit www.bulldoghour.com. The Bulldog Hour is a featured program on jmnjrradio.com.